name of this video.
Marina, kiss Evan to break the ice and take the pressure off of first impression.
Evan to break the ice and take off the pressure of first impression.
It's a numbers game, right? It's the same thing with sales, okay? Like, I did sales for a long time. And the number one rule in sales is that you need to learn how to take a no. They're selling themselves, and they're looking for a girl that's down with that, So they'll go and they'll get denied, and it does not faze them. It literally doesn't faze them psychologically. They'll just keep going and getting denied over and over, and then eventually someone will say yes. And these guys know that because it's a numbers game. You'll eventually find someone. So it's crazy when I see it because I know exactly what they're doing. He's just being ballsy. He doesn't care how he looks because he knows maybe this will be the one. And if it's not, he's going to go talk to that girl over there, and he'll go talk to that girl. And eventually he'll find someone, and he'll end up with someone at the end of the night. Ah! I observe a lot. I like to observe. I like to take in data and information and observe off things. And relationships that come from certain type of like connection points never work. It's like a psychological, because there's patterns that people follow, and you can literally track. So my favorite public speaker is actually a social analyst. He basically, a social psychologist, also a social analyst. He's mainly a social psychologist, but he does some analytics as well. And you can track people of certain personality types and their behavior patterns, and people are very predictable. And just statistically speaking, the relationships that develop out of somewhere like a bar always end, the vast majority, like 90+%, always end in divorce or litigation, or there never ends up being a marriage. Like, it's such a small percentage. Statistically, here's how it happens. It happens when you meet someone through a friend. That's where all the best marriages come from. The second most is serendipitous occurrences. Like, let's say you walked into a coffee bar and there was someone that somehow you connected with there, or a coffee shop, right? And you like bumped into someone and they seem nice, and you're like, hey, would you like to go out on a date or whatever? It's out in a public space. And this is very weird. The worst, the cases that end the most in divorce is going to a place where other people are looking to meet other people. So bars, clubs, weddings, those types of places. If you're going to look for someone else specifically, and other people are going there to look for someone else, those end in a higher divorce rate. Sometimes people who want a relationship so bad are the ones that are having trouble getting it, and there's certain reasons why they're having trouble getting it. And so sometimes those have to do with big personality flaws. And so when you have people with big personality flaws or things who haven't worked that out, and you get two people together who don't quite mesh well with people in general, then they end up clashing somewhere along the line. They have problems down the road, and then it ends up ending in divorce. So it's like, again, these are take everything with a grain of salt, because not everyone, you can't blanket statement everyone, right? Everyone's different, so it has to be on an individual basis. But I'm just saying, statistically, that seems to be the reason why. You have to figure out what's right for me, what makes sense, who am I, and then make a choice based off of that. But you're right. The majority of those types of things don't work. The medium says a lot about the person. This is why people from 4chan are different from people on Reddit and stuff like that. It's true. I'd imagine the difference would be even greater in real life places. It's the same thing. Certain people choose certain mediums, and it kind of, everyone finds their little spots, Pick your partner carefully before you get married. He was like, if you pick the wrong person, you guys just aren't compatible. You're basically looking to the other person to fundamentally change who they are. And sometimes people can do that, but most of the time people don't. So you just have to make sure that you're deciding to marry the right person. He's like, that's really the only, like, you know what I mean? But here's the downside with that. And I'm experiencing that myself. then you end up alone for a really long time. It's very life, guys. Life has rough choices, you know? Here's a real note, okay? And I'm just, like I said, I have observed part of why it's like this is a weird subject for me and weird on a personal level is that I have observed, because of my job as a public speaker, because of my job in church leadership, and because of my job, because of how many social circles I've been in, I've observed friends getting married to other people over the long haul. And I've seen how things have or haven't worked. And I've observed people that I don't know and don't have close connections with, but who have confided in me because I've been in a leadership role about the relationship. And I've been able to question them over the long haul, not question them. What I mean is question them, ask them questions like, oh, well, how did this happen? Or what are you feeling about this? And being able to see how they're viewing the world and viewing relationships and how things have worked out from them. And it's made me very hesitant to get involved in something that I'm not very confident in. This is what ends up happening to me. Another person looks at another person and they say, I'm attracted to you. Or there's a personality trait about you that I'm attracted to. And then that's it. Then they only go from there. They don't ever have the second and third layers that I think are required. The second and third layers really are, the second layer is what is your view on life and what is my view on life, and do those mesh? Like, for instance, and sometimes that can change because you need to be careful. Like, for instance, I'm a big city guy. I like big cities. I like big cities way more than secluded things, right? But I'm also the type of person that if I found the right person or had the right job, I wouldn't mind living in a more separated estate, out somewhere else. But I'd have to have the right person. Some people aren't like that. Some people only want the big city, right? So then let's say you have another partner who doesn't want the big city, right? They're not a social person. They don't require that, and they want to live somewhere else. And neither of them have it in them to compromise because that's just who they are as a person. So if you take those two things, where they want to go in life, where they want to end up living, and where you live is a big deal. Like, you're talking many, 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 many years. If let's say someone forces their spouse to move to a big city and they feel tortured, they hate it. They hate it, right? It wears on them and it's stressed on them, and maybe they feel uncomfortable in high social situations. Maybe they have social anxiety. Maybe the noise bothers them. Maybe they have sleep problems. There's a lot of factors, right? Their life is going to slowly become miserable, and you end up taking it on the other person, and vice versa. If someone feels alone and they feel like they can't socialize and they're stuck and trapped, it starts coming out in other ways, and then it deteriorates the entire relationship. The third layer that I think is the most important out of everything, there's a difference between, there's two types of people. One who make mistakes and refuse to admit that they've made a mistake and are unwilling to change. Then there's a second type of person. People who make mistakes, because we all make mistakes no matter what, but are open to recognizing their mistakes and working on them, even if it takes a long time, even if they can't fix them immediately. If you are with a person, or you're thinking about marrying a person who will not admit their faults and doesn't actively start working on those things once they're addressed, that's not a good person long term. Everybody has faults, and everybody will struggle with specific things for the rest of their lives. But both parties have to be willing to at least attempt to work on those things. And a lot of times, what you see in relationships is when a person is able to, let's say, for instance, I was married to someone, right? And I came to them and I was like, hey, this is bothering me, or like, you seem to be doing this and it's frustrating me and whatever. And then the other person was like, damn, well, that's really hard for me to fix because that's kind of like something that is just natural to me, but I'm going to work on it. Just the fact that they have accepted that and are willing to work on it, even if they don't do a very good job at changing, that is what helps people. And that's what the highest level, I think, is to a good relationship. So those are the 3 levels. But what I see most people do is they stay on the first level. They go, oh, you're interesting. And the other person goes, oh, you're interesting. And then they never go to those other levels to figure out if they both have the right compatible traits. They have the right or the compatible views on life and what they want to do and where they want to go and how they want to live. And then also, are both parties willing to admit their mistakes and work on them for the other person? So I don't know. Sorry, that was a long rant, but I think that's really all that's needed, honestly, because you can learn. Like I was saying the other day, you can learn to like similar things that your spouse likes, even if you don't immediately. It's hard to give advice to people who date or marry shitty people because 90% of the time the answer is you're fucked, break up. No one wants to hear that. Once you've gotten so far down the road, it's, once you've gone so far down that road, and I've seen that in not most of my friends who've gotten married have good marriages, but there are 2 that come to mind where it's such a tricky thing because I'm not for divorce. I'm always for I'm not for divorce. But it's a tricky thing because when 2 people just are so uncompatible and they never realized it until like years into their marriage, you've kind of got yourself in a sticky situation. It's like so far down the road, it's really hard to figure out what the hell you do at that point. But I also, saying all of this, I think probably the best thing in life, and this is no exaggeration, the best thing in life, better than anything else, is being with another person who you truly, like, legitimately care for and see lots of positive aspects in. Because honestly, like, having a great job, making a lot of money, like, that's cool. But not having money with a person who you legitimately love and enjoy, and you guys just fucking love life and love each other and things are good, that's better. Having no money with that is better than having a shitload, like millions of dollars, and not having that type of relationship. So it's just interesting. It's just life interests me, and the looking at these widespread studies really interest me because it matches up with what I've visibly seen, just observing, But it also makes me confident because then now I really feel like I have a handle on at least the information that could help me make good choices and have a really good marriage. So like I am so confident as a person that even though I have a lot of personal flaws, and I have a lot of personal flaws. I get angry too quick. As you can see when I'm playing games, I just get frustrated, right, by things. I tend to be very like critical and over analytical and like a perfectionist with some things, but not other things. It's really weird. Like I'm sometimes can be, I don't know. And sometimes I can be hard-headed and opinionated and whatever, but I'm confident that I would be, or at least have the ability to be, a really good husband and a happy husband